Absolutely no chance.
Years into the future, when fans look back at Mohammed Siraj, the numbers might not be quite as impressive, especially if you compare it with someone like Bumrah. But for those of us who are seeing him live, Ayaz, what an experience. I mean, to bowl day in and day out for 5 test matches is an inhuman task, and one that Siraj has done without any complaint. So it's only fair that he is the talking point as we wrap up this series 2-2. So what did you make of that performance?
Well, I mean, Anirudh, there's no question that he's been, in my mind, he's been the prime influence in India's performance right through the series. Yes, there are 750 plus runs for Shubman Gill, 500 runs for Rahul, 500 runs for Jadeja, Rishabh Pant almost 500 runs, and he missed the last match. But this man, right through the series, has, in a sense, kept India's fight afloat. Remember, in the last match at the Oval, India were without Bumrah and Rishabh Pant, two stellar players. And here he comes in and puts in this remarkable performance. 5 wickets in the second innings, 4 in the first, 9 wickets for the match, and wins after what transpired after the centuries made by Root and Brook. He picks up, he ensures an improbable win for India. Even on the last morning, 4 wickets needed, 37 runs. It looked like the match was tilted in England's favour. But Siraj comes up with some sterling deliveries. Almost every ball that he delivered on the last day, and even right through the match, I would say, was like he was hurling a grenade, because there was just so much, for want of a better word, granite in it. It was just aimed at dismissing the batsman. And the effort of bowling such long spells, I thought it has been one of the most outstanding performances one has seen from a fast bowler anywhere. In recent years, certainly, when there's so much talk about workload and bowlers are given spells of 4, 5 overs, 6 overs at the most, and then asked to rest and recover. And it's not that he doesn't play the other formats. It's not that he doesn't play the IPL. He plays all of that, and then to come in and do all of this uncomplainingly, in my opinion, he's been the most remarkable aspect of India's fabulous performance in the series.
Yeah, you could say that it's time for Jassi Bhai to believe in Siraj now. So, as we do wrap up the series, let's do talk about Captain Shubman Gill. So, he had a wonderful time with the bat, as you said, 750 runs. But what did you think of his captaincy? I mean, to me, nothing much stood out as such. He was completely fine. But do you think this team is shaping around well in his image, or do you think it's more Gautam Gambhir's influence still?
That's it's a vexing question and very early to say which way it's going, because Gautam Gambhir is in a sense towering influence, so to speak, and he's there as the chief coach. So the captain, who's new, who's 25, 26 in his first series, you might get the impression that he's completely overwhelmed by the coach, or just taking, in a, for want of a better phrase, taking dictation and then going and implementing the tactics. But I differ from that. I thought the best part about Shubman Gill is, first you earn the respect of your colleagues, your teammates, by performing extremely well. So if you perform well, you are sending out a message. I'm not the captain because of somebody's whim or fancy. I'm here on my own team. I command a place in this team, and therefore I'm here. And then I thought he handled himself very well in high pressure situations, like the last morning at the Oval. When the match was to be decided within the first 5, 6, 8 overs, he just kept his cool. Even when Atkinson was dropped first ball, I think, when Siraj bowled to him, dropped by Rahul. But Shubman Gill was calmness personified. So I think that's a great attribute to have when you're not easily shaken up. We've seen some, shows of temper and tantrum by both teams, players of both teams during the series. But overall, just as his batting is very sublime, it's a treat to watch him bat. I think he's also got a facet to his personality which is very endearing, which is that he's well spoken. He doesn't duck questions. But as a captain, I think he's got steel in him. He's got the ability to absorb pressure, and I think that's a very important thing for any captain to have.
Yeah, so moving on to the batting, we already spoke about Gill. Rahul also had a fantastic series, as did Pant and Jadeja, for instance. I guess the only real question about India's batting is the position of Karun Nair, because he got a second chance in his career, and you would have to be, it would be fair to say that he hasn't made enough runs for the sort of pitches that he was given. He did look good at times, but I think going forward, the question will be, is the Karun Nair experiment over, or do you see him playing in the upcoming home series?
I mean, it really depends on the selectors and the team management. And this time, I think the captain's vote will also be very influential, not just the coaches or, both of them together. I think on the face of what we've seen, all three players who were not part of the Indian team earlier, regular part, which is Abhimanyu Easwaran, Sai Sudarshan, and Karun Nair, are on the fringes after this series because the top order, everybody's got runs. And when you come back home, there is going to be challenges, competition from the likes of Sarfraz Khan and so on and so forth. And in the Indian scenario, you might actually not need such an extended batting lineup. So you might opt for a third spin. Look at somebody like Akshar Patel who can also bat and bowl. You might want him on Indian pitches for an extra spinner. So I'm afraid that Karun Nair had his chances, as also Sai Sudarshan. They haven't done they haven't seized that opportunity. So whether they'll be part of the team going ahead, matches are going to be played at home now. One of the reasons why Karun Nair had become an important part of this squad is because of his vast experience at first class level, and also the fact that he had played in England in county cricket. So it didn't seem to work out in terms of runs. Though I must say, and we've said this earlier, that even when he was making 25, 30, he used to look solid and composed. But at the end of the day, you have to look at the volume of runs. That's what matters. So I think that they'll be on the fringes.
Yeah, so let's move on to the bowling now. Now, Bumrah, of course, was brilliant when he did play. Siraj bowled his heart out. Prasidh Krishna has been mostly on and off, mostly off, I would say. And Akashdeep had that one standout match. But going forward, especially given that Bumrah is not going to play everything, where do you see this bowling lineup headed?
In Indian conditions, I think somebody like an Akashdeep would be very useful because you don't, necessarily need 145, 150 pace in India. If you've got the ability to cut and get the ball to do things, which Akashdeep seems to have. Even at his pace, even at the Edgbaston, flat track featherbed, he was able to do things with the ball. So and India, I think the bowlers, India will rely more on the spinners. So I don't see too much or many changes in the complement of bowlers that we've got. Arshdeep is also part of the squad. So is Prasiddha Krishna. So is, I think, the guy who might actually end up losing out from this squad is Shardul Thakur. And somebody like a Nitish Kumar Reddy, it'll be a tough call for him to make a comeback on Indian pitches. So these are the changes I see. I mean, we'll have to wait and see how things transpire from here. But there's going to be intense competition for places amongst the members of this squad. Apart from that, youngsters coming into Indian cricket aspiring to be part of the national team.
Yeah, but let's also talk about this insistence that seems to be coming from Gambhir and Gill collectively of insisting on strengthening the batting order at the expense of the bowling. Some would say it's quite a defensive approach, and sure, you'll get these fighting draws, and at the end of the day, the series is drawn 2-2. India haven't won it, so you have criticism from quarters saying that in the earlier times, especially during Kohli's captaincy, you had this. You were going for the 20 wickets with extra bowlers. Now, do you think this strategy they'll have a rethink about it, especially at home?
I think so. That's a very important question. I think they will have. I mean, whether it happens during the series in India. Remember, Gautam Gambhir's first series as a coach was against New Zealand, and we got, it was a debacle. We lost all three test matches at home. Then the next series was in Australia where we lost, 3-1. So you had two major setbacks, and then you're confronted with a series in England, and you lose the first test match, and therefore your concern, the priorities seem to kind of shift and saying, can we secure the batting, make it longer, make it more, give it more heft, and so on. Now, yes, from the kind of show put up by the top order in this series, you could have, and one can argue that maybe instead of a Karun Nair or a Sai Sudarshan in one of the matches, you could have played an extra bowler. Uh, Certainly somebody like Kuldeep Yadav, who could have, it was the question it begs the questions whether he should have been played in at least one test match. So yes, these are issues that will crop up, and this is something that I think as the coach he himself will take stock, because those teams which have watched this Indian team perform in England will now be working out their own tactics and their own strategies to see how they can play against India, whether at home or away.
Yeah. So, lastly, a word also about England, who did fight very bravely in this series. I mean, for all the ridicule they get for baseball and the way they go about it, they still showed some maturity in parts of this series. And let's be honest, it is quite hard to beat them at home. But do you think, given this performance, and you never know with injuries, I mean, Ben Stokes is injured, he's out, but they have enough time. But do you think this team right now will be competitive against the Aussies in Australia?
Well, they're playing in Australia, so that's going to be a very tough call for Ben Stokes.
Yeah.
I think he's probably seeing it as his last tour down under. He's also around 34, 35 maybe. He's come back to full fitness, in great form against India. He missed the last test, of course, because of injury, but I expect him to be fit in another 4 5 months. I'm a little, not I'm unsure about their bowling strength, because they don't seem to have bowlers who can bowl at that pace to worry the Australian batsmen on Australian pitches. And also, I think the batting is very good, but it pivots around Root. If he has, and he doesn't have a great record in Australia, but people like, Harry Brook, and even somebody like a Jamie Smith, who I think was the disappointment for England this morning, today, in not being able to win the match for them, the fifth test match. But it's going to be very tough for England to beat Australia in Australia. We found that, India found that to their disappointment, great disappointment, when they went to Australia after winning the first test, they ended up losing very badly. So Australia extremely tough to beat in Australia, and their fast bowling quartet and Nathan Lyon haven't kind of not, their potency hasn't diminished a bit. So that's really going to be worrisome for England.
Yeah, so there you have it. That was our roundup of the series, and we'll see you on the next episode of Sports Room. So that's it for this time. See you next time.
Thanks, Anjul. We'll catch up.